Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 794, the review of Warfare. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week on the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a theater near you. This week, we're sitting down to talk about two films, one called Warfare and one called Drop. We are doing it during a window of time where Steven is between some trips. He's about to hop on a flight shortly after we finish recording, so we are going to jump in. Before we get started, anything you want to say, Steven, before we begin?
I don't know, just that I'm excited to review two very, very, very different movies tonight.
Yeah, which order did you watch them in?
I did Warfare and then Drop.
Okay, same with me.
I almost did them in the same night. There was time to watch Drop after my late Warfare screening, but I thought emotionally the whiplash might be a little bit too much, so I decided to space them out by night.
Nice. All right, yeah, cool. Well, as we said, we're trying to speed things along. So what do you say, Stephen? We just dive into it. We'll play a trailer for Warfare and then come back and give everybody a review.
Let's do it.
How's it going?
Going well.
Okay.
That's that new guy energy.
Oh, he's back. That's the fourth fucking time he's done that.
So you're peeking at probing?
Speaking with serious intent to probe.
Alpha 2, we might have guys starting to move in our position.
Copy, we're getting a buildup of activity here too.
Yeah, I definitely see weapons at this point.
Yeah, we have definite massing.
Redman 08 is profane. We're seeing activity converging to your north and south.
This is Frogman 6 Romeo. We need evac at our last known position.
We have severely wounded. Who's the severely wounded? It's not you. It's me. Who is it?
No, it's not you.
No, it isn't.
Copy, one, we're in contact too.
You coming to you or you coming to us?
Stand by. We'll let you know when we're inbound.
Let's move!
Here's the plan. EA 5 minutes, over.
The scouts are gonna lead us out, and I'm bringing up the rear. Pop smoke.
Smoke out.
We are all coming back.
OP1, they are en route to you.
3 minutes out! 3 minutes!
Eyes on me and only me. Has anyone looked at you?
I'm fucked up. 2 minutes out! 2 minutes!
Where are you guys?
Look for the blood and the smoke!
Multiple bad guys trying to get to our position.
Inbound! Inbound! Find cover! 1 minute out! 1 minute!
We have enemy on our building and all surrounding buildings.
Roger that, stand by. Going hot.
You gotta get ready, man. This is gonna hurt.
On my count. 1, 2, 3.
All right, so that was the trailer for Warfare. It is the story about a group of SEALs that are held up in a building in Iraq, and just the chaos that unfolds as told through the memory of at least some of these SEALs. Stephen Miller, what did you think of Warfare?
So I don't know if we talked about it on mic, but at least off mic, we discussed that I was not looking forward to this movie at all. I had seen the trailer quite a few times in recent months, and to me, I felt about it the way people felt about the Civil War trailer, of just kind of icky and like, ugh, this is not a thing that I necessarily know if I want to exist in the world. And it seemed very, especially with it focusing on the Iraq War, it just seemed very potentially exploitative and just like a strange use of, I know Ray Mendoza is billed as the main director here, but Alex Garland is the auteur that we've seen before, so it's easier for me to think of him, you know?
Yeah.
It just seemed like not the use of his talents that I would want to see. And I watched this movie and I am pretty fucking blown away by the craft of it, while also still having no idea if I think this movie should exist or knowing what it wants to accomplish. But it is done so well, I just have to give it props. I mean, this movie, it is very insistently refusing to give you a moral or a lesson or a point of view or any of the normal dramatic things that you would expect to see in a war movie.
Yeah.
It, with the exception of an opener that clearly tries to get to you the point of how young these people are and how maybe unprepared they are for warfare, and then a closing montage, which I'm going to say is just throwing a bone to the many people who helped make the film. The rest of the movie is just, you are in the middle of this. It is what it is. It's hellish. There's no rhyme or reason behind it. There's no lesson to glean. There's no anything. It is just dropping you into the chaos. And I think it is done incredibly well. I mean, what this movie really captures is the way war can be long swaths of like boring, mundane, sitting around and waiting, punctuated by sudden, horrific, chaotic events. You know, this movie gives you both of them. And it does it in a way that's like pretty jaw dropping. I found this so gripping. I mean, this movie is 90 minutes long. I felt like I was watching it for hours. You know, it really just immerses you completely. It doesn't give you one character as the audience surrogate, the person who you will see everything from. I know the real Ray Mendoza, he had the character who's doing comms throughout the movie is his surrogate, but he doesn't get really any more screen time than anyone else. I mean, this movie is really just evenly showing you everything. It's showing you the young, you know, cocky kids who think they're all that, and then how will they actually react in a moment of crisis. It shows you Will Poulter as the commanding officer and what happens to him when chaos ensues. Like, everything is just thrown into complete disarray, and I think it's brilliantly executed. And I guess my feeling is, like, as long as we are going to make war movies, this is the vocabulary I want them to use. Like, if nothing else, this feels like the right way to tell this story. There's a short story that Jamie told me to read a while ago called How to Tell a True War Story, where the whole point is, like, the only true war story has no lesson, it doesn't generalize, there's nothing you can draw from it except and have this kind of feeling in your stomach of something turning. Like, a real war story doesn't teach you anything, but your stomach believes it. And, like, my stomach fucking believed this movie. Like, whatever it is very, very, very believable. The sound design is particularly incredible. Like, I am so glad I saw this in a theater, because I think the contrast between silent and loud, and so loud that it becomes like a fuzzy version of silence again, is just so striking to sit through and experience. So yeah, this movie had me hooked. I don't really know how I fucking feel about it in any kind of ethical, should these movies have a message? Like, I don't know, but this one doesn't. And as someone who can project my own feelings about the Iraq War, I think it handles it great. Like, it confirms everything I believe. If I were like a hardcore hoorah America fuck yeah guy, I think it would also confirm what I believe on that side.
Yeah.
So it's just art. I don't know. I should ask how you feel before I keep blabbering about it.
Yeah, so I think out of the two of us, I was actually genuinely excited to see this film. Not because I particularly love war films or anything like that, but I think, like, knowing Alex Garland was attached to it and knowing how I felt about Civil War, you know, like, a lot of people, like, I was just kind of like curious what I was going to get, and I was shocked by what we did get from it. And I didn't care about this depiction of the Civil War, you know, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes here, in that film, but I was kind of in awe at these kind of what you described here is these punctuated moments of violence that took place in that film, and how it portrayed it as, like, this is what it's like to cover war, right? like, sure, there are characters that are super gung-ho and excited about what they're seeing and sort of adrenaline junkies, but the individual moments of combat that you saw in the film Civil War, I was engrossed by, because they weren't glorious, right? They were just moments of insanity and this crazy violence that suddenly happens. And it was kind of just like a shock to the system of, it wasn't the type of usual film that you get. So when I first saw the trailer for Warfare, I was like, this makes obvious fucking sense. that was like, well, what if I take away all the story and all the convoluted stuff that made people potentially not like Civil War, and just reduced it down to it? Like, there is a you know, I guess it's a tagline, you know, in the trailer, there's some text explaining what's happening. And then there's just a black screen with white text that says, "This is warfare." And then shit breaks loose, right? In the trailer. And I think that that's what we are watching here. This is a film that presents what it is like to be in one of these combat situations, kind of divorced from the overall war and the overall situation. It is a group of SEALs who holed up in a house overnight, and they're waiting for their chance to extract. And they come upon other people who have weapons, and then a gnarly shootout ensues. And this film does not glorify this fight. The soldiers, they look well trained, like, obviously, because they're SEALs, like, they are well trained, but none of them necessarily is so proficient that they're not John Wicking their way through this situation, right? Like, it affects people in real time in ways they are not prepared for. They are not, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but like, they're not like presented as, you know, we're not watching Lord of the Rings where they're just cutting through orcs, right? These are people who are clearly not ready. They were in a situation they shouldn't have been in. And it was a lot to deal with, for a lot of different people. And I think that portraying war as that sort of chaos, and just that sort of, like, no matter how well you train and no matter how good you work as a squad, you know, an IED can change everything that you have in your plans, you know, surprise grenade can change those plans, like bullets coming in through the side of a wall can change those plans, right? Like, you're never prepared for an all-out firefight. And I think that this is a film that you kind of just watch, and it's like a slow burn until it's an explosive powder keg, and you kind of just sit with it. And then at the end, it's just over. And it's not over in the sense of like the plot dies and then the movie's over and you're like, wait, why is it not going? It's like, for that physical space, at some point it's just over. And it's just so, there's something really strange about participating in it, that it, like, you feel all the heft of the moment, and then the moment's gone, and then you leave and you're like, I don't know if it's a quote unquote good movie, but it feels like an accurate portrayal of something that I hopefully will never have to experience myself. But I feel like I understand what it felt like to be there in that moment, and that does something to me while I watch it. And it's just, I think it is a powerful film in the way it presents it, and it doesn't give me some of the negative things that you get from other type of war films that are like, yeah, hell yeah, America, let's go get the bad guys. This is just like, they just wanted to get out of there. But that wasn't in the cards that they were dealt. And yeah, I just thought it was an impressive way to do this type of thing. And yeah, I was impressed by it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one aspect of the movie that I really liked, and they frame this from the jump, like there's the opening kind of title card that says, I don't know the exact words, but it basically says this is built exclusively from the memory of people who lived it.
Yeah.
And the whole movie feels like a memory. You know, it has all of those little details that feel very true to life, that also honestly seem like they tipped my hand into who will survive and who won't, because there were certain things that were so specific. I imagine they could have only come from the testimony of the person who saw it or experienced them.
Yeah.
Like a character experiences the sudden loss of hearing after an IED blast. You know, a character looks up and sees through the smoke a kind of red sun, you know, shining through. And there are little things that just feel very real, you know, and I mentioned that this movie is kind of a canvas that you can project what you want onto it. I feel like the filmmakers are tipping their hand about thinking no one should have to experience war like this. I mean, you mentioned how calamity happens in this place, and then you're just left with the place at the end, what is left, which is a thing that I love when movies do. I feel like Mass did that before, Short Term 12 did that just like the before movies, just movies that let you kind of soak in the let's think about everything that this room or the street contained.
Yeah.
But here, you can't shake the feeling watching the movie that this entire fight, it's based on a series of accidents. You know, it's like it didn't accomplish anything. It didn't happen because of some pre-planned thing they needed to accomplish. It just like, we were here. Other people hate us being here because of course they do. Shit went down. Another day in the life, you know,
yeah.
and there is something about it that I can read as very damning, at least, of look at how meaningless all of this is. You know, this life was lost for no reason.
Yeah.
There's also something that I have not really read any discourse around this movie because I want it to be, you know, unsullied for our conversation. I imagine there could be discourse about the way certain characters get sidelined, particularly the Iraqis who help the U.S., you know, the translators who were a part of this mission. I see that sidelining as the most clear political statement the movie is making in terms of who was valued and who wasn't valued.
Yeah.
But again, I could also see a totally compelling argument that sidelining is evidence that this is like a jingoistic, only cares about Americans and didn't bother to care about other people. Like it is just such an interesting cipher of a movie. You know, I think a million people could write conflicting think pieces and none of them would be wrong because this is just a snapshot of how certain people who survived remember it happening.
Yeah.
Not what it meant or why it meant or the broader context. It's just like, I was there. This is what I saw. You deal with it now.
Yeah. And I also didn't do like any like looking up anything about this film, but I made a lot of assumptions based on whose face is blurred or not blurred in the credits where they're comparing the actor to the real person. So I'm definitely curious about whose point of view, like whose memories are they, who wanted to participate in what was happening versus didn't want to participate. So yeah, it's just it's there's definitely a lot to unpack here. But for me, I kind of like taking it just as this, like a, you know, Rorschach test of, Rorschach test of what is like going blank, take away from it what you will. And I'll just take away that this is warfare. like it's just, it's compelling one way or another. And yeah, this film, it lacks the feeling that you get from other films that feel like a true dramatization of moments. Like, even if I get away from war and we compare this to like Last Breath, right? That film starts with like, here's the newly married couple talking about the house that they want to build, and like, sure hope nothing bad happens to this person. You know what I mean? Right. Like it is a film that is based on, let's introduce characters, let's show you everything that's at stake, let's have them have a thing they're trying to get back to. This is really just, we are here. Maybe things would play out differently if they picked a different house in the middle of the night. And then all hell breaks loose. You experience hell, and then you're done. It's just a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. If I were the studio head, my one note would be, don't have that real actor versus or actor versus the real person that they're playing montage at the end. That is the one thing that felt so tonally out of place with the project. There is some power in seeing how many faces are blurred. It kind of reminds me of watching movies from Iran or other countries where like almost all the credit names get blurred, you know, because no one felt comfortable putting their real name alongside it. So that imagery was kind of interesting. But that was just the one part where it felt hoorah. And I'm not trying to be like fully anti-military. If I were the people who experienced this, I would want to be like, thank you to my teammates who came for me. You know, like I get it. But as a work of art, that it just didn't feel like it fit the movie that I watched. So if I could do one edit, it would be that. That's the one place where I think you could make a very valid argument that this does glorify, or at least like there's something to it that feels way more uplifting, or hell yeah, this was cool compared to everything that came before it, none of which felt cool, you know? Like, this isn't an entertaining movie at all. It's why I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't think I would ever want to watch it again. And I'm not even sure that the world is better because it's here. But it's done so fucking well. I really struggled to think of another movie that had that combination.
Yeah, I mean, and it feels like when you talk about should this exist, I also don't know that it should, but I can feel the argument of when somebody talks about this moment, you don't really get it.
Yeah.
And this is probably the closest it is to letting you get it. That doesn't sully that with a bunch of the baggage that a normal narrative film comes with. So, I don't know if that justifies its existence, but I can see why somebody would want to make it.
Yep. Yeah. I will say, I wish I had not ordered a fried chicken sandwich and a beer for this movie because it felt very inappropriate to be eating while I watched it.
So, usually I get there a little bit early so I can order stuff, and I'm usually done eating by the time the movie is like,
that's the dream,
actually starting to get, but we got there pretty late, but I still scarfed it down as fast as possible. So that was my story. I also got a fried chicken sandwich though.
Nice. Okay, let's talk sauce. I did the mustard barbecue, and I wrote extra sauce this time, and it made a big difference.
I just went with straight up buffalo sauce. So
boring.
Yeah. Anyways, film, one way or another, you cannot say that this film is boring.
Right.
So, should we give people an official verdict, Stephen?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. If you were going to give this a must-see, recommend with a caveat, wait for rental, pass with a caveat, or a must-avoid, what would you give it?
I could seriously give it any rating and think that would be valid, but I'm going to call it a must-see, honestly. Like, as a work of art, like, someone created this thing based on their experiences, this kind of singular thing that they went through. They put it out in the world, and it helps you understand something you didn't understand before. And I think it is just executed so well and sets a template that if people borrow just like 15% of this when they make war-related movies in the future, I think they will be more artistically meaningful than like fucking Lone Survivor, you know? So yeah, I have to give it a must-see, even if I don't know that anyone should see it. It's incredibly well done.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it as just a recommend with a caveat. But for me, the caveat is the caveat that was hidden in your must see. Right? This is a film that I appreciate that I watched it. I got what I was expecting from it. And you walk out of that film and you're like, yeah, that was an experience. And then people are like, oh, was it good? Should I see it? And I'm like, all I can say is it's a lot. It's an experience. But it's like I'm hard pressed to be like, oh, it's really good, you should see it. I'm just kind of like, it's a lot. Like, it is. Yeah. It's really intense, and it it's really good at what it does. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's the big caveat. I don't know that everybody will appreciate the craft of what this film is doing or take it in the same way that like we're kind of taking it right now. So you know, that's where I am at.
Do you want to have your mind blown?
Sure.
I just looked it up. This movie has the exact same runtime as Drop. In my head, this movie is 2 times longer than Drop.
That's funny. I will say too. This is where I kind of almost thought you were going. Is this film Warfare currently has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 93% popcorn meter. It's not often I feel like that you have like audience score and critic score being basically lockstep.
Usually, like I feel like Nolan is one of the only filmmakers that can get that usually.
Yeah. I mean, like I guess here you go. Drop is also 83 and 80, so who knows?
Okay. Interesting.
People sought out certain films this weekend. They knew exactly what they were getting, and they got that. And that just seems like...
Yep.
But cool. That's going to do it for our review of Warfare. Stephen Miller, if people want to find you throughout the week, where can they do that?
People can find me at Threads or Blue Sky at sdavidmiller or sdavidmiller.com.
People can find me at ChristopherInRealLife.com or ChristopherIRL on a number of social platforms. You can find the podcast over at thespoilerwarning.com where you can get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so in Overcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at twitter.com/spoilerwarning, facebook.com/thespoilerwarning, or instagram.com/thespoilerwarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@thespoilerwarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from a track selected from artlist.io, so hopefully you're enjoying that. Yeah, that's this review. We were just talking about Drop. We're about to go record a review of Drop that'll come out in the feeds later. So we'll see you in that review. Later.